Good morning. Thanks for tuning in. This is the KST Halacha review for Wednesday, June 3rd. We started speaking the last couple of days about the idea of mechitza in Halacha, what's required, what's important to have in a synagogue, and so on. So we gave some sources, some historical background. The next thing Rabbi Lebowitz mentions is that there are two reasons given for a mechitza while davening. There are a number of poskim who say that the whole reason, the point behind having a mechitza is to ensure that men and women do not see each other. The idea being if a person's mind will become distracted, won't be able to focus properly on davening when looking at the opposite gender, particularly men, not necessarily women, but the general assumption, of course, doesn't have to apply to everyone to be reasonable and compelling in our practice, that people will let their minds wander if they're looking at the opposite, if men are looking at women during davening. So that is the view, among others, of the Satmar Rebbe in Divrei Yol, expressed in Divrei Yol. Be'er Moshe in Halacha says that a number of different places. The other view, maybe not so different, but it's another way to evaluate the situation. Ramosha Feinstein in Igros Moshe and a number of others. The ones that he brings are Mishnayos Midos, so all the way back in the Mishnah, Tosefta, in Sukkah. Rambam says this. The Bartanura, who comments on the Mishnah in Sukkah, and a number of other sources that give there. They say that the goal is to prevent men and women from mixing with each other, which can possibly lead to kalus rosh, lead to an attitude of frivolity. And as we mentioned when we learned Gemara Brachas a couple of months ago, a year ago, whatever it was, on Monday afternoons, we say that a person should not come to davening in a state of kalus rosh, of kalut rosh. Literally translated, we're talking about light-headedness, but it really means frivolity, not having the proper attention to what's going on, what's at hand, the important business at hand of prayer. So Rav Moshe Feinstein holds it is preferable to build a balcony in a shul rather than a mechitza, where the women's section is the same level as the men. So you'll see in a number of shuls you do have a distinct separate balcony. Some of the shuls in Toronto, certainly many of the older shuls in Europe are constructed this way. We have sort of a mini balcony in our shul. And he says that where the women's section is on the same level as men, this would only be effective if Rav Moshe says preferable to build a balcony rather than a mechitza, where the women's section is on the same level as the men, which would only be effective if the women are dressed modestly. It's also preferable that the balcony be enclosed with a curtain, so in fact you will see that in some of the shuls in the GTA. The height of a mechitza, Rav Moshe writes that it should be shoulder height, in accordance with the opinion that the mechitza is supposed to prevent men and women from mingling. Ideally, the mechitza should be about 17 or 18 handbreadths high, tfachim high, which is about 66 inches high, about 5.5 feet high. However, if the mechitza is only 60 inches high, one should not rebuke those who rely on it. That is a legitimate opinion, says Rav Moshe Feinstein. Those who want to have it a little bit higher, where one can't see over it, he says that's a praiseworthy thing. Or if you raise the floor of the women's section, the height of the mechitza is less than 60 inches, that you should not do. If the members of a shul do not want to make a mechitza, they should seat men and women on separate sides of the shul, of which I know of one synagogue that's like that in the States. Okay, so we'll continue talking about this topic tomorrow. Please join us then. Have a good day.